Growing your organic vegetables from seed is almost as rewarding as picking your first produce. Linda Galvad shares tips and tricks on getting your seeds germinating and off to a winning start.
There's really no such a thing as green fingers. As long as you've got your soil sorted, water, sunshine, you need to focus on using good quality seeds. When you have good quality seeds available to you, you really are 50% of the way there to getting things growing to gold. I really enjoy using heirloom seeds. I just feel that they have so many benefits. Firstly, an heirloom seed like these varieties here offers such a wonderful selection. The flavors that you get from growing these varieties are just unsurpassable. The beauty of heirloom seeds is that you can seed save. The parent and child plant are always identical. The seed variety, the variety of the vegetable has to be over 100 years old. And the best part is that they are resilient, so they can kind of survive in different climates and soil conditions. And that's why I just feel that when you start off with something that's strong, it can really help you along to get to the best possible crop that you could get. It's important to get to know what the seed of a vegetable looks like. I always say that because I feel that when you can just look at a seed and know which family it belongs to, let me give you an example. Legumes, bean seeds, they are part of the legume family. I know if I get a seed looking like this is a pretty easy one, I'll know that's a bean seed. Also, identifying the size of the seed is really important for when you're growing in your seedling trays. We've got our bean seeds here. This is what beetroot seed looks like. Now, the amazing thing about beetroot seed is they look very similar to Swiss chard. In fact, exactly the same. The one you use the root and the other one generally you use the leaves. These are considered a medium-sized seed. Then we have lettuce. Now, as you'll see from the lettuce seed, which I've just poured about 6,000 in my hand, because that's how many there are in this packet, the seeds are pretty small, measuring to about 2 millimeters in width or diameter. It's always difficult to decide where you're going to plant your seeds. I generally like to plant everything in a tray, simply because I have control of how those seedlings are going to grow. It also gives me a head start into the season. If I can start growing my seedlings in a tray, at the end of winter, I can get them in the ground sooner when summer comes along. So, what we're going to do is we're going to discuss the different options. Firstly, when it's a beautiful summer, sunny day, it's a great time to get up early and start planting your seeds then. In those circumstances, you can plant them directly into the ground. So if the weather is beautiful and you can plant directly in the soil, provided your soil is prepared and you've got the right soil, go for it. It's also a very good idea to plant in seedling trays because, as I mentioned earlier, it gives you control. You can put the perfect soil mix in your seedling trays, and then when your plant is growing, you can make sure it gets enough water, enough sunshine, and enough love and care. With your seedling trays, you can have a 6-cavity tray like this. You can see that these squares and the depth are quite large. This will allow you to leave your seedlings in here for about a month to a month and a half, if you have to, before you plant them in the ground. So I must say that this is one of my secret recipes, and through much trial and error, I have learned that these things work best for me when making the perfect seedling mix. So what I'd like to show you, in fact, is what the measurements are for that. Let's just dump this over here. We've got compost, which we've made ourselves. So a good scoop of this compost is all you need. Generally, I use the compost for food, so 1 scoop will do it. Over here, we've got potting soil. I use the potting soil, 2 scoops of those, in fact, and I use it simply for meat, just to use up space in the seedling tray. So let's do 2 scoops of those. 2 scoops of vermiculite. The amazing thing about vermiculite is that it not only absorbs a lot of moisture and keeps it in the soil, it also creates spaces for oxygen. So 2 scoops of those. And finally, the magic fertilus, which is vermicast. So that is created from worm farms. And we don't put a full scoop of fertilus in here, just a half, just for that added boost. Right, let's mix it up. I feel like I'm baking bread. And that's what you're looking for. You can see that there's an equal disbursement of vermiculite in here. That's really important. Now I'm going to fill my seedling tray. I like to do this with my hands. You need to fill your seedling tray right to the surface. I'm quite fastidious about that. The reason is because as soon as you wet the soil, it sinks. And it's important to give the seeds all the soil they need to grow in. Okay, there we go. We've leveled that out. And now we're going to plant our bean seeds. I always get asked, how deep do you plant your seeds? Now, the thing is that the larger the seed, the deeper it goes into the ground. I use the 2 centimeter rule for all large seeds. So bean is considered a large seed as well as squash and all your pumpkin family. A medium seed goes a little shallower and a small seed 1 centimeter. That's into the ground. When you're working with seedling trays, you can always just plant your larger seeds 1 centimeter and your smaller seeds much shallower. You don't want it to put it right at the bottom of the seedling tray, so by the time it gets to or tries to get to the surface, it dies. It loses its energy really. So we're going to show you how to plant this. Well, I'm going to show you how to plant this bean seed. I've got some magic beans here. The reason why I call them magic beans is because they grow into this delicious long thin French purple bean, and when you cook it they turn bright green. So for those of you who need to trick your children into eating their vegetables, this is the way to go. Always important to label your trays first. So I've got one of my labels here that I've made from a milk bottle, permanent marker, so it doesn't matter how many times I water, it will stay on. I'm going to label them Purple King, that's the name of the bean, and that it's a dwarf bean. Right, here we go. Put that in there. Make my 1 centimeter holes. Pop one seed in. People always say, does it actually matter which side the bean goes? Not at all. You can even put it flat if you like. Right? Pop one seed in. If you're going to do smaller seeds like lettuce, which are tiny, as I mentioned, you plant them much shallower, and you just sieve a little bit of compost over them. But it is important to put more than one seed in each hole when you're doing smaller seeds. Right, let's cover that up. Please note, I don't force the soil down and push it down flat. I just gently smooth the soil over and leave it quite airy in the tray, if I can put it that way. Some people water before they plant. I like to do it this way. What I have here is the most amazing little tool. It's called a bottle top waterer. You can put it on any kind of bottle, that you're recycling. And the beauty of this is that when you water your seedlings or your seeds that you've just planted, it produces a fine rose spray, as you can see, and it won't dislodge the seeds that you have planted. Remember, when you're planting smaller seeds, you're going to plant them much shallower, so you don't want them spilling out and spilling over and then wondering why you've got no seedlings growing in the tray that you so perfectly planted up. We water that. We make sure that the entire tray is sodden, really, at this stage. You can check by seeing if the water drips from underneath the tray. Where do we put the tray now? Well, in winter, it's a good idea to put it in a warm, sunny spot, in a protected sunny spot, something like a windowsill. That would be a great idea. And in summer, on an open porch, that's also a perfect place to put it. Make sure you keep your seedling trays moist at all times. You don't want your seedling trays to dry out at any stage, so that germination can be easy. The plant doesn't have to struggle or be stressed at any stage. Stressed little seedlings produce stressed plants, so we want to keep it in the perfect environment.